Alrighty, and welcome back everybody to our sixth episode of the life and suffering of Sir Bronte. I just realized before I started recording this that if people are watching this in series, which I assume would be the way people would watch this on the playlist I have put together, then you probably don't need a recap from the last episode. But it could still be slightly useful in case you're not watching them back to back, so you have a refresher of what's going on. I just realized that just now while I was talking. So we'll give a brief recap. We made a very large decision of which lot we are going to side with. So because we had the incident at the college where the nobleman, I call him Sir Montague. I know it was like Monrogue, but I found Montague just a lot easier to say, and also the reference to Romeo and Juliet slightly funny, even though I don't know why. So yeah, but that was the major decision that happened in the last video, I would say. So if you got nothing out of the last episode, we're heading forward with the Noble Pass. But other than that, I just want to get right into this game as soon as possible. So let's do it. We are 18 years old now. The year is 1136. So it's winter, and we're at the trial of the 50. You have lived another year in the capital. Eterna has been shaken by what is now known as the trial of the 50. 50 people stand trial at once, all prominent members of several political circles. They are accused of treason and conspiracy against the crown. The accused spoke in favor of reducing the powers of nobles and granting more rights to the common estate. There was no mention of rebellion, yet those words alone were enough to indict them. Every session of the trial is open to the public. It is a show of power made to discourage people from forming such circles ever again. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You have to send a message. You attend one of the sessions. The 50 face their verdict. Forced labor in the mines of Magra and Illyria for regular members, and true death for their leaders. 6 men and 1 woman. Their public execution takes place in the central square of Eterna. You remember the woman. Her name was Annie Siren. She made a speech before her execution. A young woman, not too tall. Her face almost plain, with long bangs over her eyes. She looks calm, even at this moment. You cannot believe that she is about to leave this world forever. Annie Siren takes a look around before she speaks. Her voice is quiet, but you are close enough to hear every single word. She says she is happy to give her life fighting for the rights of the people. Her cause will never die, Annie claims. Others like her will continue their work in hiding, for their cause is right and just. She is dragged away to the others. They put a sack over her head and tighten a noose around her neck. A hand yanks on the lever, and the 7 dangle in the air. Their feet tremble at first, then grow still. There are gasps and cries of discontent in the crowd. Oh, our struggle for power has moved to -2 again, and there's... Wait, that put us more towards peace? Okay, I guess? Because they murdered, the inner circle of people who were rebelling, but, you'd think it would spur on... What's her name? Sophia and the others to become even more emboldened, so I'm surprised that this gave a +1, but... We'll see. Sir Elcroy's lesson. Your studies at the Imperial College may have begun with a luxurious party, but soon you settle in the routine of lesson after lesson. Along with dozens of other future judges, you spend hours listening to lectures in spacious college halls with high ceilings. You study imperial law and legislation, analyzing every technicality and interpretation. The subjects only grow tougher, and the instructors grow ever more demanding as your studies continue. Yet, law is the only thing you study. There are other disciplines as well, such as rhetoric and orthography. A true judge must have a perfect command of both the spoken and written word. Washing dark blue ink off your fingers becomes an indelible part of your daily routine. Indeniable? That would kind of work, too. Of all your classes, you find the fencing lessons particularly exciting. Every lesson covers your body with more cuts and bruises and makes your muscles ache from exertion. But Your childhood dream is worth it. Then, finally, there comes a short break in your studies. A handful of days for rest and recreation. You meet Tomas to discuss how you're going to spend this time. I just realized, I wonder if the transition pages sounds like I just heard like the clopping of feet on cobble actually is picked up by the recording software or not. I have no idea. So there might have just been for the past couple of episodes awkward pauses every time one of those happened. But I guess I'll have to check to be sure of that. Moving on though. You're coming to meet with me tonight. No excuses, Brante. We'll be playing a visit to our mentor, Baron Alcori. It's time you learned a thing or two about how we do things in the military. Your friend looks very cunning and pleased with himself when he says this. With a sigh, you change out of your college uniform and into your best clothes and follow him. Tomas rushes you to a two-story house somewhere in a noble neighborhood in the capital. Its windows are open, and you could hear people talking over each other. The house sitting room is filled with young people, at least 2 dozen men, almost all of them academy cadets. In the middle of the sitting room is an armchair, and in this armchair is a gentleman wearing the uniform of an Imperial Legion officer and smoking a pipe. His thick hair falls over his large, observant eyes. Baron Alcori welcomes the two of you with a slight nod and continues his speech while everyone listens respectfully. As I was saying, young men, I firmly believe that the days when all the military glory of the Empire belonged to the Arcanian dynasties are long gone. Human nobles have been serving the Emperor at least as well as the Arcanian nobles for a long time now. Still, the Arcanians keep acting like their origins are more important than honor and service to the crown. Take the Milonitis dynasty, for example. The Archdukes of Magra. Long ago, their leader Char Milonitis fomented a rebellion against the rule of the Tempests and the Twins' faith. He sucked all life from his own land, doomed thousands of his own subjects, and yet the Milonitis dynasty still rules over Magra like nothing ever happened. Then suddenly, Sir Elcroy flashes a cunning grin. I think this calls for a test of your strategic thinking, young men. But first, let me refresh your memory on the rebellion of Char Milonitis. It may seem surprising, but we have him to thank for our current status. He was the first to ennoble humans, an act of unprecedented insolence. But it gave the rebellious Duke immense support in his promise. He risked his own reputation and title to make himself stronger thanks to humans, and in that, he succeeded. No one has dared challenge the rule of Arcanians and Tempest before, but the rebellion of Magra changed everything. Humans became a part of the nobility. We got a taste of the power only the Arcanians could wield before, and, unless I'm mistaken, most nobles in the Empire these days are in fact human. Why, we outnumber the members of the Arcanian dynasty dozens of times over. So, Char Milonitis has complete rule and control over the lands of Magra. He had the loyalty of ennobled human subjects, and he had the loyalty of the mages and witches who fled to Anazote, the only place in the Empire where they could harm from the Church. The Archduke of Magra had everything he needed to win, and yet 2 pivotal changes brought him down. First of all, he cast a magic spell that incinerated the entire incarcerated. It certainly stopped the Imperial legions in their tracks. But the population of Magra would no longer side with Char Milonitis after that. Second, the clergy struck at the rebellious Duke with the power of the twins. His magic was gone, and his mage advantage was no more. Many fled, but as you know, it still took the Empire an entire month of siege before the palace in Anazote was taken. After the rebellion of Magra, the Empire changed drastically, and more importantly, humans finally received their lawful right to be ennobled. And I'd like to stress that in particular, ennobled not by birth, but by virtue of their own knowledge and talent. History, young men, is more than just a memory of the past. It is also a lesson for the future. I believe that part of our history proved my point. And now a test. Tell me, If you were among the Imperial strategists during the rebellion, what would you have done? How would you have fought an enemy as powerful as Char Milonitis? With this, Sir Elcroy leans back in his armchair and takes a pull from his pipe while the cadets start discussing. Some take no time to say that they cannot believe Sir Elcroy thinks humans were first ennobled by serving the rebellion dukes. Others say the prolonged palace siege might have been a mistake, and storming the palace would have been a better choice. Soon, ideas start flying. Some cause only laughter, where others lead to debate. They're discussing the past of Anazot, the past of your hometown. You cannot possibly stay silent right now. If you were in command of the Imperial legions back then, what would you have done? Based on what you know about the rebellion of Megar, you see three potential strategies. The first involves calling upon the twins' miracles to rob Milonitis of magic and render him powerless. The second entails putting your faith in the disciple and valor of the army for a frontal assault. The third means drawing out the siege will make the enemy's life as hard as possible through cunning. Which of these three strategies would you have chosen? So this is pretty obvious. Valor, it gets valor and theology. Valor and eloquence? Or valor and scheming? So, well, out of all of these, I think valor and scheming are the most important to me. And honestly, I don't think when you have an enemy that powerful, a decisive assault is going to be, your best choice. You're gonna kill thousands, hundreds, and thousands of men by doing this. Rely on the will of the twins. I'm not a religious person. I don't think it would have worked. I think I would have, laid siege to the palace. Just don't fight. Just wear them out by attrition. You decide it's your time for you to answer, Sir Lucori. The proper way to bring down the castle Enzo would have been through a prolonged siege, you say. The lands of Maker could no longer feed the warriors of Char Milonitis at the stage of the rebellion, and when their supplies eventually run out, they would open the gate from the inside. Sir Elcroy looks at you, studying you attentively. I agree with what you're saying, young Brante. In a sense. Had the Imperial forces done that, they would have lost fewer men and kept the palace of Anazot intact. Yet, you are missing my other point here. Milonitis' army would have continued fighting, even emaciated by the siege, even with their numbers dwindling. True, some did flee, but those who stayed to defend the city and the castle, even after the Imperial forces broke in, remained loyal to their lord until the very end. Yes, they're going to be backed into the corner, and they're going to fight harder than ever before. True, but they're also attritioned. There's only so much a man can do to fight hunger against will. There's only so much. Long ago, only Arcanians had the right to wield weapons and wage war, but now humans can prove their merit and earn the same right. Humans like ourselves. And the present empire has grown even stronger thanks to its new warriors and functionaries. These days, humans can judge and rule and create. The terror wrought by the rebellious Duke are undeniable, yet his rebellion created new possibilities for all of us. And this, young men, is the moral of the story. Char Milonitis was defeated, but not by the clergy and their prayers, and not even by the noble militias assembled by other archdukes. He was vanquished by the Imperial legions, a unified army with clear regulations and ranks and a clear chain of command. An army that is strong in discipline and loyalty to the Emperor. His eyes finally move away from you and back to the rest of the young men in the hall. But nobody even else dares to argue with the battle-hardened officer. The evening continues. Sir Elcroy shares some of his war stories, each more astounding than the last. For the rest of the night, you are out of the Baron's center of attention, so you join Tomas and the other cadets in sipping wine and enjoying his tales. You return to the college long after midnight. You all often recall Baron Elcroy's story about the rebellion of Char Milonitis after that. The rebellious Duke lost the war, and yet he brought about drastic changes for humans and the entire empire. So now we got 14. We are moving towards Season Warrior, and we still are a conspirator. So let's keep going. What's the next game? Hit me with your best shot. What does the next page hold? Year 1136. Summer. Letters from home. There are days when you receive letters from home. Father's writing is very reserved. He mostly discusses events and work in Magra, and writes very little about the family. It makes me proud that I managed to teach Stefan how to handle our affairs at home. Your older brother behaves impeccably at the society balls and receptions that we host. He's already made several crucial acquaintances. But Gloria has a different opinion of Stefan. She thinks your older brother is taking more and more after grandfather. Stefan is a lot like grandfather. It's in his manners, his posture, his voice. He even dresses just like him. He used to be aloof around me, and we barely talked in the past. But now he always blames me and tears me apart. I cannot take it anymore. He walks all over me all the time, and treats me like a housemaid. Mother writes to you. From her letters, you learn that Nathan just barely managed to graduate from school. It makes me sad to admit that Nathan has none of the talents you have. The other day he told me he won't even try to study in the capital. He says he won't be able to pass the exams. I find solace only in the nights Nathan and I spend together reading the scriptures and our walks to the church by the silver tree. He accompanies me every time. Do you not realize, woman, that this guy would be a perfect priest? Not perfect, but, a really good priest. Your sister and younger brother write about Mother too, and they say the same thing about her health. She now spends more time locked away in her chambers to brood. Gloria does her best to accompany Mother when she leaves home, and Nathan's letters mention her steps echoing in the halls in the middle of the night. There's one more thing Nathan mentions in his letters. Stefan and Gloria have been fighting very often these days. Stefan always tries to get under Gloria's skin, and she always answers him in kind. Then Stefan calls her a lowly commoner to make her shut up. You always tremble in excitement each time you see a new letter with the seal of your home provenance. Your fate is still tightly bound to your families, no matter the distance between you. Apparently Stefan just likes me less because he's fucking Stefan. Bro. I guess it's probably saying they like me less because I'm not with them. Cool. Okay, everyone likes me less. Cool. The first case. You become a judge one day, so you're sent to the prefecture of Eterna to be mentored by a more experienced colleague. Your mentor is a judge of considerable age, a noble of the mantle with a proud bearing about him. He never misses a chance to remind you that being mentored by such an experienced man of office is a great honor. Your mentor trusts you with his minor cases, and, to his great joy, his night shift. Another night begins. The office is growing darker. You're still there, zealously filling out your paperwork for the day. A petty theft. A verbal assault against a noble of the sword by a commoner. A fine for the parents of children who covered an imperial institution with obscene drawings. Petty cases, all of them, but they are real cases a judge has to face. And so you sit there, carefully comparing complaints, statements, and witness testimony. Ooh. It's the woman from the singer from the beginning. I remember her. I don't remember her name, but we'll find out soon. Then the door of your office swings open. A gendarme drags in a provocatively dressed girl. Her golden hair is undone, and her makeup is a fiery red. Girls like her sell their bodies in houses of ill repute. Thanks, my dude. My dude is awfully judging. The next to enter the office is a stout priest, his face adorned by a nose of remarkable shape and a huge wart on his cheek. You do your best to avoid staring at it. The gendarme gives his report. The girl was arrested with a certain gentleman in the park by the Temple of the Twins. They were committing acts of carnality, and an affront to the faith. The huffing and puffing priest interrupts him and starts yelling. He saw her doing magic, he did! The gentleman was enthralled by the girl, and he was glowing like a lamppost. You gesture for the priest to stay quiet and ask if the gendarme can prove this. The gendarme only shrugged. He didn't see anyone glowing. He arrested the girl for her sacrilegious conduct alone. The man in her company was a noble, so the gendarme couldn't bring himself to arrest him. He does, however, remember his name. I wonder if her gender had anything to do with it as well, rather than just a nobility question. There hasn't been too much overt. Like, there's definitely been sexism throughout the game, but it hasn't been a major theme, so I wonder if it's something the game plans to address. The priest is huffing and puffing even louder now. It was magic, he screamed. You must refer to this case of the Inquisition. This witch was loose on the streets of the Empire's illustrious capital, seducing good men with her vile charms. The girl stays quiet all the while. Her eyes are emerald green, twinkling with gold as she looks at you. When she does speak, her voice is soft, like smooth velvet. Elias. My name is Elias, Your Honor. All I did was obey the noble gentleman's wish. He wanted my affection, right by the temple, and I dare not oppose him. I did not defy my lot, did I? The wench looks up and meets your gaze as she says these words. Her eyes reflect the candlelight in the dusk, sending sparks of gold dancing along the walls. The gendarme stares awkwardly by the door, sighing. The priest goes off on another rant. You tell him to be quiet. The day is not over yet. You must decide how to resolve this unusual case on your own. The law says a judge must investigate all circumstances related to a case. You know the name of the nobleman who was seen with this girl in throes of passion. The gendarme was afraid to question him, but you're a future nobleman yourself, a young judge. Surely you can find a way to resolve this matter with discretion and get the information you need from the nobleman. Perhaps the suspicious lady of evening Elias is at the heart of the matter. You've no doubt she will view her true colors if you question her. If the priest was right about her using magic, the girl's fate is sealed. Your Honor. You look up from the desk and into the eyes of the beautiful Elias, and you suddenly feel as though a divine light is shining upon you. This emotion flows like a river. It lifts you up. This is more than beauty. More than passion. This is much, much more. Will you resist this call? Will you heed it? So we can find the nobleman, which rescues her and gives us 1 diplomacy. We can interrogate her, which kills her, gives us 1 theology and 1 manipulation. Or we can release her, which just gives us 10 willpower. It is a lot of willpower, but our diplomacy right now, I believe, is lacking a little bit. Yeah, it's at 10. It's not great. And we do have 20. So I could just... There'd be more... The thing is, there'll be probably more opportunities in the future where I might want to choose willpower over, what the options I have at hand. But 1 diplomacy would be very nice. So I will seek the nobleman. You find the nobleman who is allegedly... And on an ethical note, it's good to give her a chance. Like, actually give, see not just the she's defying... She didn't defy her lot. She's, of the common class. But I don't think that necessarily means, she's at fault. Because I'm not going to give in to that lot dichotomy. So... This leads her to true death, so she must probably... You probably find out that she's a witch. But I will find the nobleman. You tell the gendarme to take the girl to her holding cell. Her eyes are filled with chagrin and pity as the man takes her away. You compose a polite and thorough letter to Sir Diego El Couture, the nobleman seen with the girl in question. You delicately hint that his reputation will be safe and promise full confidentiality. When you come to the office the next morning, you see a nervous young nobleman waiting at the door. You must be Judge Brante, he says. You meet Sir El Couture with a dignified greeting and start questioning him on the case of Elias the harlot. Elias? It's true that the 2 of them ended up in the Temple Park because Is it true that the two of them ended up in the Temple Park because of Sir Elkatir's wish? He says he barely remembers last night. He was quite inebriated and determined to have a good time. He spotted Elias by accident. She was standing under a lamppost by the temple. As for the Temple Park, he does not quite remember why they ended up there. You take his statement in accordance with established procedure. Next question. Would Sir Elkator say his mind was clouded by the young woman? The nobleman turns red. He asks quietly, "Haven't you seen the lass yourself, Sir Bronte? How could anyone ignore her?" Still, you ask, was there anything suspicious about her? He speaks slowly. Yes, it was though she could see his every desire, and he was happy beyond measure in her embrace. It felt like the gods themselves were smiling at him, Sir Elkator, and yet perhaps it was merely the wine in her beauty, and nothing else. He thanked the young nobleman for his honesty and promised to keep his statement a carefully guarded secret. You sentenced the harlot to 2 days in a pillory for defiling a place of worship with her depravity. You shall find no reason to refer Elias to the Inquisition, however. You write case closed on Elias's file and put it in the archives. The fact that it led to true death means she obviously is a witch. But, even in that case, did she didn't, does she deserve to die because she's a witch? Did she? No. Not necessarily. It depends on how she acts, so. We got a diplomacy, though. Nice. Condition. Elias's death is prevented. You saved the enigmatic singer known as the Golden Voice from an untimely death. Yeah, I said at the beginning she was probably burned for being a witch. But. Alrighty. So we had the Elias incident. Oh, we had another year pass. Well, how long have we been going? Let me just check my recording software quick. Oh, actually, no. Actually, I will, in accordance with my year-long schedule, stop this recording here. So yeah, that was our 18th year. Actually, not all that much happened. We made the case of Elias, and yeah, we talked with the nobleman and said we would seize the city. So that was a pretty sparse year. So we are bolstering our stats, getting us up there. We are looking pretty solid on Valor, because I do want to boost Valor up, because I know one of the events was win the tournament, and I definitely want to win the tournament. So, yeah. But, as always, if you have any thoughts on what's happening in the episodes or how I could improve, I would greatly appreciate if you just put it down in the comment, because I'm looking for ways to improve this and continue this. Because even after this game, I definitely plan on continuing doing this. I'm just having a great time. This is tons of fun. So I hope you guys decide to take the road with me. So, until next time, see ya.